What's going on, guys? It's X, and welcome back to the channel. I know it's been minutes since we've had an actual video, and I apologize, but we'll explain that later. Right now, we're going to actually go over all of 2024's Cardfight Vanguard releases in the global market and rank them. Why? Because we pretty much have done it every year since, and were it not for the fact that one, procrastination, and two, I decided to steal my thunder this year. This would have come out so much earlier. I had a whole other video planned, but you know, here we are. So anyway, we're gonna go in and talk about them. So let's jump in. All right, so here we are. So we've got our normal tier maker, and I've put all the releases up on the screen. Obviously you can't see some of them, but hey, you know what? It's fine. Anyway, we've got our normal rankings. We got S tier, which means you were probably one of the best products. You were without that the best product of the year. You have a lot of good things. Pretty much, you should be the standard going forward for certain sets. All the way down to F tier, meaning you were just terrible, right? You were actually a cataclysmic failure of a product release. And I say that not lightly, considering what's gonna go here. On that note, if you want to have more discussions about Vanguard or any other card game, you know, I just ask that you like the video, comment down below what you think of all the upcoming products, and if you want to, subscribe to the channel. So anyway, let's start with the worst to best, and we're gonna go, of course, to F tier. And yeah, I think y'all know what's probably gonna be an F tier, which that belongs to the startup trial decks. They were horrible. Not only were they effectively a glorified demo deck being sold in the market, but they also included a mechanic that quite literally Bushiroad decided, hey, you know what's a great idea? We'll just make this mandatory. So people had to buy these or get them out of the secondary market to even play the game, even if they didn't want to buy any of the main bosses. Which, of course, these main bosses also aren't exactly good either, right? They basically got power crept once Faded Clash dropped, right? It's like you only really needed them as a beginner because you want the PGs, the triggers. Oh, that's right, the triggers. Yeah, no, triggers are basic, but, you know, obviously a lot of people are like, well, what about the... Well, what about the actual like effect triggers that are basically just so necessary for competitive play? Why not add them? And to that, Bushiroad just said, "Oh, we added them, but they're random. You're lucky." Same with Military Sanctitude, which also comes up later. We'll talk about that later, effectively later. So, bam, you've got that. You've got all these issues. A deck full of effectively 50 vanillas, PG effectively like 46 vanillas, PGs that not people run unless they're like specifically designed for like certain decks, which they weren't, and boss units which are outdated before they even come out because they're all getting if you're playing them, you must either really like the aesthetic or you're crazy or you literally have no money. Not trying to do pocket wash here. I'm just saying, you know, these are very budget bosses, which are cool, but you're not going to win a tournament with them unless you're just goated like that. Which then comes to the part that probably like puts the nail in the coffin of this whole thing, is the release in global, in which Bushiroad's global team decided to do something nice at the expense of sanity at all, which is they put in new sleeves, right? They gave each boss their own unique sleeve designs, which I don't think they had in Japan, which is already cool. And they gave that little like mini box that's meant to be for doing, you know, for holding all your cards and stuff in, so that you kind of have your own like deck box, right? That's cool. However, that bumped up the price from their Japanese counterpart, which is effectively like $5, you know, translated at the time of release, to $15 to $20. And considering that the only thing in there that is actually needed for everyone is a card that literally says you get to play the game. I mean, not literally says you get to play the game, more like that basically says you get to play the game. That is a lot of why. So yeah, I put this at F tier because it was an overpriced garbage release that I think not only is the worst release this year, it could go down as probably one of the worst releases in Cardfight Vanguard history. That's how badly I do not like this thing, right? It's just terrible. So now we move on to the D tier, and D tier has only one product in it. And trust me, it's not as bad as what's an F. However, it's bad for an entirely different reason. And one of my main gripes with how products are handled in the global format, and that product is Token Rambo Online 2023. Token Rambo just can't catch a break. Like, first off, when it released in G, it was already very bad. Then when it released its second support wave in G, we didn't even get it globally. It was two like actual decks that are actually alright in like arguably rogue tier compared to how things were going at the time. So then we basically bypass it for all of V, and then we come to Overdress, and it gets one more set early in 2022, I believe. I don't remember. But then we get an announcement of a second set in 2023. Now, why is this important? Well, because of multiple factors. One, 2023 means it's not 2024. And this was released in May 2024. So it was supposed to be released in June of 2023, which means it's already an entire year, almost an entire year behind schedule. What also makes it worse is that when it was supposed to come out, it was supposed to come out before the Grand Grace, Fabrinil, and Orpheus start super decks, and before set 12 of Wildress. Keep that in mind, because when this released, it was basically right after Illusionless Strife. Let me double check this right. No, excuse me, it was right before Illusionless Strife. I had to check my notes here. But yeah, it comes out before Illusionless Strife. It's already like 3, 4, 5 sets behind schedule. Like, I'm literally looking at it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 product releases behind schedule, not in of this year alone, not including the fact that it's supposed to be in the mid-end game of Wildress. So that's like 1, 2, 3, 3 main sets behind schedule. It's not releasing its own meta that was supposed to be in, and it just doesn't do anything. So this set unfortunately just has to sit on shelves in English if you even bought it. I know my locals got a case, and one of the players literally just went, you know what, this was a mistake. Well, I'll buy the whole case. Basically, they basically bought the case of the shop just so they didn't lose money on buying this thing to begin with. So that is insane. Why? And another reason why I feel like the biggest issue with collabs in global is that they're not thought of in global. Like, the whole point of collab is to like have these cards there, and unless you're Monster Strike, you do not actually get power to stay in the metagame. I mean, come on, for crying out loud. Literally, they unrestricted all of Monster Strike, and it is still probably actually playable in 2024. That set was released 4 years ago, and it's still probably decently strong enough to actually compete today. That's how powerful that set was, and that's how powerless Token Rambo is to even compete. It has such really cool mechanics. It has the forge, it has the crest that make your favorite Token Rambo card actually like a grade 3 boss that you can play on your own. There's so many cool ideas, But they're basically, no one cares, because why would I buy this product? It's a year out of date. No. And we've got Illusion of Strife up across the road. Why would I waste money on this when I could buy a set that actually matters to the grand scheme of things? Like, Token Rambo really just got hoed, and I feel so bad for it. Alright, so now we move on to the C tier, and this might be controversial, mainly because C and B really could just like fluctuate at any moment. I've thought about it, and it's just like, yeah, like if you're in C, doesn't mean you're bad. More just like B just got too filled, because there's a lot of like in between sets. I would say like there's like, you could go anywhere. C and B are basically like borderline fluctuational, or like you can make your own decisions there. This is my list, is my opinion, so we're gonna go there. So we've got technically two product releases in this thing, and we're gonna talk about the first one, which is the premium deck set for Neo Nectar, World Paladin, and Shadow Paladin. Why are these on C? Because Bushiroad has done a horrible job of handling premium in terms of actual like tournament support, and if you see people who play premium at BCS, they're also upset. It's like, hey, the standard stuff's cool, but where's our premium stuff? You know, we kind of like some too. But that's a whole different discussion. A whole different discussion that eventually I will talk about too. Man, 2020, I've got a lot of things to catch up on 2025. I just completely missed on, didn't I? But these are still cool, right? These are actually pretty cool because they do a lot for having people, for like the basic starter product for people to get into premium. You've got Musketeers, you've got Jewel Knights, a popular thing. They're all popular in the context of their own nation. They're all really cool, and they all come with valuable reprints for both V and premium, which is also good. Not only that, they come with one of the coolest things is that they reprinted Harmonix Messiah. They're all in the decks. They printed Elitary Sanctitude, all in the deck. Like, you get these, you're actually, a lot of just general staples for your clan and for premium in general are just in here that allow you to play the game. Not only that, these starters, main boss units have been given crests like the way Jet and everything else does in the other Stride deck sets, and makes them actually viable for today to actually be played in a reasonable manner. So that's really good. It basically bumps up everything up to date. The only reason it's in C is, again, personal thing. I just think the rest of premium as like a format supported has kind of gone down, but not to say these are bad, right? Next product is the other potentially controversial take here, but you know, hey, again, whatever. It is Triple Drive. The Triple Drive booster is probably one of the nicest things, except for a few issues, right? It is basically a reprint set. It reprints a bunch of cards that really needed their reprint. But it has like two main issues. One is that the packs are like three cards a pack, right? That's not enough. That's not a lot of cards, you know. Right, like, yes, you have the high rarity cards, but you also need to have the cards also come out. Not to mention you added in functionally unique cards in there too, with Luhan and what's his name, the buddy fight looking monster, or not buddy fight looking monster, you know what I mean, the Firesmith, right? The blacksmith card for Dragon Empire, right? Those two are functionally unique, which means now that this set is out of print, they're going to spike up in price. So even something as casual as that is now kind of getting screwed over. And then secondly, and also pretty unique too, some of these bosses aren't really used anymore. Like, yes, you gave us Bastion, you gave us Orphis, but they're the wrong Bastion and the wrong Orphis. No one's playing the first Bastion, and no one's playing the first Orphis. Like, cool, they have high rarity guards, but they don't really matter. Not to mention, once should Seraph Snow get another form, that's also going to be lost too. So, you know, there's a lot here. That's kind of like, ooh, I don't know if he's out there. Oh yeah, Bruce too. Old Bruce got instead of Vehemence, which is also another thing. It's like, I think, obviously, they couldn't just straight up use everything because, like, oh, well, you know, we're about to come into, like, a whole new variant, right? I think Bob Sagar got the most, Bob Sagar's gotten the most use, and that's, you know, that's about to get removed too, so. I think high rarity stuff is really cool. If anything, it's a nice gesture. I think the reprints are nice too, especially if you want to play, the glitter decks. That's also good. But just too short of a card pool inside the boxes themselves, and just the high rarity cards just aren't enough. So that's why it's on C. I think it probably is the only one who justifiably should be here, in my opinion. So I think everything else is just slightly better than what's going on. Speaking of what's going on, we're moving on to the B tier, and this one has a lot. Again, this might be the most controversial section of the entire video, I won't lie. So next, we're gonna go to Lyrical Monasterio Sparkling Stars as the first candidate of the B tier. This set is actually pretty good. A lot of like cards for decks like Sienna from last set. Sienna got really good support. Then you had other decks that also got really good support. Absolute Zero isn't strong, but it's, you know, it has a really strong base already that could always scale up as time goes on. Then you've got Kyoka and Lutetia getting forms that made them competitively viable. You know, I think the only real issue with that is that their support wave got so pricey, kind of priced people out of them anyway. That's the whole thing about more reprints for Lyrical, especially. Like, I think they really need a reprint set by themselves, really, if you want to do that. But, you know, it's cool. And it had probably one of the most underrated just generic cards in the nation that released in it too, which, you know, I think will eventually go up, but that's also really cool. I think a lot of Shooting Stars is really good, but I don't think it's like better than, say, our next set, which is ironically the Trigg Or Treat set. Yeah, the Trigg Or Treat set that came in January. Lyrical Trigg Or Treat has a pretty good baseline. In fact, it's ironically, it's like the 3 decks on this, at least 2 of them saw competitive success. And I think Sienna's Ride Line saw a lot of like experimentation too, which led to success. So, hey, you know what? I say this is a win. I think the only thing is, like, I think everything else is still kind of whatever in the set. But I think really, I think overall, just kind of the set itself was fine. I think just, oh no, wait. I forgot, one of the best generics in the entire nation also dropped in here too, with them too. So of course, yeah, it's going to be there. I don't really have much to say. That's kind of the thing. I don't really have much to say about this set as a whole. It was just kind of there. So we move on to our next one, which is Passible Booster 2024. This set is very controversial because it introduced dual nation generics, and now it's basically made some decks, that, you know, would otherwise be effectively played kind of priced out for various reasons. But the point is, like, the negative with the set is that it kind of just like increased the price ceiling of some of the game, and that's not good. Like, you don't want people to spend more money on getting to your game. You want people to spend as low money as possible for your base rarity cards. And the problem with this set is, like, its main rarity, its triple rares are effectively all money. Like, I don't think if you can find a box of this, you could probably pull 2 triple rares and pretty much pay the box by itself. And there's like 4 in there, right? So you find a box for like $40, you're good. Which you will never find a box for $40. Also, just kind of like some really cool generic stuff in here, like the grade 1s that do energy charge things. That's also pretty cool. Again, reprints for basic triggers. That's always cool. And some other reprints for promos that were kind of just left in the dust, right? So yeah, no, there is a lot of good in here. It's just its biggest problem is that it increased the actual price of the game for certain decks. Now you could probably play without them, but you know, if you're wanting to be optimal, that's the price you gotta pay, which sucks. Speaking of sucking, Illusion of Strength. I mean, that's a joke, mostly because I just think Grandmire is a terrible design card. Like, it's not really like, oh, Grandmire is terrible in terms of it's terrible in the fact that, like, the deck basically just became an OTK turbo strategy the second you hit turn 4. Pretty much, like, one of the main builds in when Blanemire was in the meta was literally just go first, just slam face, and then turn 4 you make it an unblockable bunch of columns, which are like, yeah, you can't actually beat me. I've got multiple crits, multiple things that you can't use PGs. Your Vanguard effectively has no skills. You can't be saved. Like, it's very toxic, right? And I think it's just weaker overall than Fated Clash in terms of just having a bunch of cool cards that really set the game overall. Not to say there aren't, like, really cool decks, right? This was the introduction of Flamground, which is, in my opinion, one of the best, like, cheap lyrical decks out there that has gotten better with time. And honestly, I think it's kind of underrated. I think Rotovisor exists, and I think Rihanna was a nice, also exists, but I think it's also a nice teaser for how the story of the anime will play out by introducing the concept of the specific dragons that Andra is, right? If you know, you know, which is, I think, pretty cool. So yeah, I really think, like, outside of, I think his biggest problem was that Blanemire was there. It wasn't as strong as Fated Clash, but it does have really cool stuff that I think is just pretty nice. If I'm forgetting something, if I don't have one, next we've got the last one of the B tier, which is Dimensional Transcendence. This one is hard to really rank overall because I think it could borderline also be an A, just because it gave us a top tier deck in Shoto Doji. It made Arkwright actually, like, really decent. It gave us Dayusha, right? It gave a lot of, like, new unique decks, and it gave a lot of decks about strategy. I just think it kind of just gets lost in the fact that it's just another lore set, so a lot of people aren't really as connected to it as, like, if you were still in Fated Clash and whatnot. And I think it's just, again, probably just weaker overall than, I wouldn't say weaker. I think that weaker is a wrong phrase. It's just, it's not as flashy if you don't, like, if you don't play Shoto Doji, you're not exactly getting a lot out of the set, unless you're, like, a fan favorite of these certain archetypes. Again, like Archetype, Dayusha, and some, like, really unique decks like Sacrifice Glass. That's also a thing too, and of course the Youthquake support cards. That's also really cool. I'm only saying Youthquake support cards because I forgot Drill and another I was about to say the Molcharmies. The Molcharmies, yeah, the Molcharmies are in here. Bye. Joking aside, I think the set's pretty cool. I think I might revise it back to like a high B, low A. If I'm being honest, it probably closer to A tier than anything. Next, we've got speaking of A tier, here we go. We've got 4 product releases in this one. And the first one we're going to go to is Destin Showdown. Again, made 5 more faded ones. Some really cool decks. The baseline for, Levy Dress. The baseline for Paldio, Aqua Libra, Liscafel. I feel like I'm missing someone. Who cares? But like a really cool baseline, some really neat strategies coming in. It didn't have anything generic in it, right? And that's kind of like the biggest problem with it. I mean, that and just kind of like, for some people, they kind of got tired with how divine skills were being used and handled, which, to be fair, but I'm gonna say it's just anything that badly, right? What does beat it though in the tier ranking is Omnis Awakening. Straight up, legitimately made like 3 high tier decks. At least 2 high tier decks and 2 like tier 2 decks in there with Levidrus, Varga, Leo Odium, and Reziel, not respectively, just in general. And then also gave pretty good support. Again, I say this set pretty much fixed a lot of Flamgam's issues, and we'll talk about Flamgam later. That's a teaser for later. So I say, effectively, pretty good set overall. I think people are just kind of like gonna look at this like, oh, this set was kind of busted. And so you're probably wondering, oh, this set was so meta, warping, meta defining. Why on earth is an A tier? We'll talk about it later. But now, let's go on to the next product, which is Stride Deck Set Luard. Really good Stride Deck set until the dog got taken away to the kennel. But even with that, I think Luard is still a very good Stride Deck set. I think on its own is probably like where I think the power of Stride decks should be. It doesn't get rid of their it doesn't increase some crazy it doesn't break its mechanic, but it doesn't also just put in shove thing, but it's still being strong. I think it stays true to itself in terms of its G counterpart than anything, and I think that's really cool. I think that's where this and somewhat Messiah, give or take, at least when they're on release, should be the basis for a Stride deck set. What shouldn't be the basis for a Stride deck set, in my opinion, even though it's going to be an A, is Shiranui. In fact, I'm literally saying it, I think Lord as a product is better than Shiranui, even though Shiranui ran the meta for sometimes. This is why I say, you can be meta and still, you can have a meta release and still be just being an okay product, right? And this is why, because I don't think Shiranui needed access to 3 restanders when it already had probably its best restander and probably the most balanced way possible. It got 3 restanders, and this deck set single-handedly changed that hit twice. arguably 3 times, because it then had to change the rules for strike deck sets going forward because it was using Shoto Doji's card pool. Yeah, I probably should have put you up an A. I'm not gonna lie, you might just be crazy. But the whole point is, yeah, no, you had Shiranui running rampant because its base was already strong, and if you add the stealth cards, which are already strong as well, combined with a boss and strides that were just insane, you know, of course it's going to be like your best buy, right? You buy this, you were set for a good 6 months, even more probably. Like you're pretty much good for the year, right? You don't need to do a single upgrade outside like a couple things, as long as you bought Festival Booster. But Shiranui is really, really good, and I think it's a pretty strong product. I think Luard fit the idea better. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Anyway, now we're on to S tier, and S tier is where we conclude this storyline. If you see, there's only like 2 sets left, so you already kind of have the spoiler of what's coming up. But let's just go over them. First up, we're going to start with the best starter product release of 2024, which is Stardust Blade. Stardust Blade is really good. It's a $10 to $15 trial deck that has a bunch of cards that allows you to play it out the box. You know, no vanillas. Comes with actual PGs you use in the game, right? Like I have the product like right there, still kind of there, but you have the regular PGs. They're now just probably fine to put in starter decks now. It's cool. They don't change much, but you get what I mean. You have a boss that is really cool, unique to all the others. I think the only issue with it is that, you know, we can't read Skywrite in English unless we officially legally online or anywhere, right? That's its biggest problem, is that people are going to be like, oh, this deck's cool, who's it from? Oh, this manga you can't read. But I digress. And it's just a very good product, right? You buy this, you give this to someone, they are already ready to go, right? It comes with everything you need. Like, this reminds me of how V trial decks, which in my opinion are probably some of the best starter product in Vanguard's history, have been handled, and I'm so upset that we moved away from that. But this is such a better thing to do, and so that's why I say Stardust Blade is an S tier product. Which then comes to the final product of the release, Fated Clash, probably the best set of the year. Why? Because again, it has a bunch. It has like the energy cycle generics. It has 4 very good bosses that you could still play. Like Wellstrut is really good. Reziel is now part of a meta strategy. Varga is a fan favorite, and its users are fan favorite. And dang, I'm blanking on names today. I'm sorry. Like all these decks that come in are really good, and then you had concepts like Villano and who else was left? And Die for Dolls, which are also, TCG original. They're not actually in the anime like that, but they have their own unique strength and power that you can pick up and be fine, right? So I say the only problem with this set release is that it has the cards that this set should have had. These literally has the majority of the cards that has most of the cards that this set should have. And were it not for that, I feel like there would be much more unique cards in the lower half of the actual set release. But I think the top half is just so unbelievably balanced and strong. I just think it just outweighs any negative it has by a landslide. So that's my list. What did you guys think? Do you agree with me? Do you not? Perfectly fine. Stay in the comments below. This is probably going up as the last video of 2024, so if I don't get my update video up, hey, I hope you have a great year going forward. I hope you enjoy just playing Vanguard, playing any card game you want, and I hope you all have just. I hope if your 2024 wasn't strong, I hope 2025 is better. I'm rooting for you. Good luck, y'all. You have a good day. Bye.